Tina had everything a housewife was supposed to want: a husband, 2 kids, and a quiet life in a small house. Then one morning, he packed a bag and left her with nothing but the kids, an empty bank account, and a stack of bills. With no job skills and no money, Tina turned to public assistance just to keep her children fed. But she had one thing no one could take from her: a love for baking recipes she saw on social media. When she stumbled across a free online baking class on Facebook, she had no idea it would change her life forever. This is the true-to-life inspired story of how one broken woman turned a $0 kitchen budget into a multi-million-dollar cinnamon roll empire, one pan at a time. Chapter 1. The Day He Left. Tina always thought her life was simple but happy. A small house on a quiet street, 2 kids who still believed in fairy tales, a husband who came home every night, until the night he didn't. It was a Tuesday. She remembers because Tuesdays were spaghetti night, and she'd already set the table for 4. But when she looked up from the stove, there were only 3 plates that mattered anymore. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just set his keys on the counter next to a folded piece of paper and said 4 words she would never forget. "I can't do this." Then he walked out the door, got in his car, and drove away. No goodbye to the kids, no explanation, just silence and the sound of an engine fading down the street. Tina stood in her kitchen holding a wooden spoon, staring at a piece of paper that would change the rest of her life. Chapter 2. Broke, Broken, and Alone. The note wasn't even long. A few lines about needing space, about not being cut out for this life. No mention of child support, no mention of when, or if, he'd be back. Tina checked the bank account that night after the kids were asleep. $312. That was it. That was everything standing between her family and nothing. She hadn't worked in 6 years, not because she didn't want to, but because raising 2 small children while her husband built his career had always been the plan. She managed the house. She managed the kids. She never once thought she'd need a resume. Now, at 31 years old, with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old asleep down the hall, Tina had no job, no income, and no idea what came next. She sat on the kitchen floor that night, not the living room, the kitchen, and cried the kind of cry that comes from somewhere deeper than sadness. It was fear, real, cold fear. Chapter 3. Public Assistance and Rock Bottom. The following weeks were a blur of paperwork. Tina drove to the local assistance office with both kids buckled in the back seat, filled out forms she didn't understand, and waited in lines that stretched out the door. She qualified for food assistance. She qualified for a small cash benefit. It was enough to keep the lights on and put food on the table. Barely. But every time she swiped that card at the grocery store, she felt something crack a little more inside her. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't unwilling. She just didn't know how to turn housewife into a job title anyone would pay for. At night, after the kids were in bed, Tina would scroll through her phone, watching other people's lives happen. Vacations, promotions, new cars. She felt invisible, like she disappeared somewhere between being a wife and being nobody at all. But there was one thing that always made her stop scrolling. Recipe videos. Cakes rising in the oven. Dough being braided into perfect loaves. Frosting swirled onto warm rolls. She didn't know why, but she'd always loved recreating what she saw. Pausing the video 10 times just to get a technique right, even if it was just for her kids. Chapter 4. The Free Facebook Baking Class. One night, scrolling through a mom's group on Facebook, Tina saw a post that stopped her thumb cold. Free online baking class. Learn to bake from home. No experience needed. She almost scrolled past it. Free things never felt real anymore. But something made her click. It was a small community. Home bakers, stay-at-home moms, people just like her, all learning together in a private group. No judgment, no pressure. Just recipes, videos, and encouragement from total strangers who somehow felt like the first real support system she'd had in years. The very first lesson was on yeast dough. The second was on fillings and spices. By the third lesson, they were deep into one very specific product: cinnamon rolls. Tina had made cinnamon rolls exactly once before, from a can, with her kids, on a lazy Sunday morning. This was different. This was proofing time and butterfat content and the science of a proper swirl. She was hooked. Chapter 5. Her first batch. Tina didn't have money for fancy ingredients. She had flour, sugar, butter on sale, and a secondhand mixer her mother had given her years ago that she'd never once used. Her first batch came out lopsided. Some rolls were burnt on the bottom, others were doughy in the middle. But her kids didn't care. They ate them anyway, faces covered in frosting, asking for seconds. That night, Tina posted a photo of her cinnamon rolls in the Facebook group. Not because she thought they were good, but because for the first time in months, she felt proud of something. The comments poured in. "These look amazing. Recipe, please. I'd pay for these." That last comment stuck with her. She read it 3 times. I'd pay for these. She started experimenting. A classic cinnamon roll, a brown butter pecan version, a strawberry cream cheese swirl she came up with using berries she found on clearance. Every version got better. Every batch got tighter, more even, more golden. Chapter 6. Building the brand from her kitchen. It started small, unbelievably small. Tina posted in a local buy and sell group offering a dozen cinnamon rolls for $10. 3 people messaged her. She sold out in an hour. She used that money to buy more butter, more flour, a few disposable trays. The next week, she posted again. This time, 6 orders, then 12, then 20. She started waking up at 4 in the morning, mixing dough before her kids woke up, baking in batches between school drop-off and pickup. Her tiny kitchen, the same kitchen where her husband had left that folded note on the counter, became something else entirely. It became the birthplace of something that was completely, undeniably hers. She gave her little bakery a name. She built a simple page online. She photographed every batch like it mattered, because to her, it did. Word spread through her small town the way it always does, one satisfied customer at a time. Within 6 months, Tina wasn't just selling cinnamon rolls out of her kitchen anymore. She had a wait list. Chapter 7. The multi-million-dollar empire. What started as a way to survive turned into something Tina never let herself imagine. She rented her first small storefront, then a second location, then a shared commercial kitchen space to keep up with online orders that came in from across the state, then across the country. Investors started calling. A regional grocery chain wanted to stock her rolls. What had once been a woman with $312 to her name was now running a business processing thousands of orders a week. It didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't easy. There were nights she wanted to quit. There were moments the bills still felt impossible, even with a growing business. But every single time, she thought back to that free Facebook group, to that first lopsided batch of cinnamon rolls, to the moment a stranger online said, "I pay for these." Today, Tina's cinnamon roll company is valued in the multi-millions. She employs dozens of people, many of them single mothers, just like she once was. She built training programs for new hires, modeled after the very same kind of free class that changed her life. Where Tina is today. Tina still keeps that folded note in a drawer, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder of exactly how far she's come. Her children, now older, grew up watching their mother build something out of nothing, one tray of cinnamon rolls at a time. She never planned to become a business owner. She never set out to build an empire. She just needed to survive, and baking was the one thing that still felt like hope. Tina's story is proof that rock bottom isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the only place quiet enough to hear what you're actually capable of. If Tina's story moved you, make sure you subscribe for more real-life inspired stories of men and women who turned their lowest moments into something extraordinary. And drop a comment below. Have you ever had a rock bottom moment that ended up changing your life for the better?